Hello and welcome. Today's boss is Qadim the Peerless. What I want you to first notice is that this boss room is being quite big, which means if you don't know where to go during different boss phases, you might end up dead or sabotage the fight. So I will emphasize what you should and should not do and what to be careful of more than once during this video, because this is considered one of the harder wings. After going through the general mechanics for a DPS player, I will also explain how to do pylons one by one. So this video will cover both DPS and pylon mechanics you need to learn. First thing you will notice is probably the action key. Every player on this boss will have this action key, but only pylons will activate these action keys to take pylons focus on them. No one else will use these action keys throughout the fight. Do not accidentally activate it. Now for people who will tank the pylons, you need to activate these action keys. Activating these action buttons will allow you to tank pylons whenever you are in the range of these pylons. Activate it once and then the action key will start shining reddish color. And do not deactivate it until your pylon is gone. Qadim will devour these pylons one by one when he is at 40%, 30% and 20% HP. You cannot not have pylon people because for Qadim to be vulnerable, all three pylons should have players on them. Notice this picture for a bit. As you can see, there are 3 pylons on this boss, and there are 2 markers between each pylon. Once there are equal amount of people on every pylon, the fight will start by CCing the pylons. Every pylon should have around 3 or 4 people depending on the amount of CC those players have. Now choose a pylon for yourself. At 80% and 60% HP, everyone will have a fire AoE on them. This AoE sticks to the players for 5 seconds and drops to the ground, and everyone will leave these AoEs on the right side of their pylon at 80% and on the left side of their pylon at 60%. These AoEs damage you quite a lot, so you should definitely avoid stepping on them. Also, after every pylon CC phase, Qadim and pylons causes an explosion which yeets players around. Do not get yeeted on these fire AoEs. Make sure your backside is empty. Now this sounds complicated, let me show you. Now for pylon people, there's also a reason these markers are there. Qadim launches an energy ball named Shower of Chaos 3 times after every time he phases. He phases 3 times, so he launches 9 balls in total throughout the fight. These energy balls drop between pylons. We arrange the markers so that balls drop right between these markers between every pylon. Since there are 9 balls in total, 3 balls drop between every pylon throughout the fight. The duty of pylon people is getting those balls before they hit the ground and carry them back to their pylon. These balls damage people who is carrying them every second. And as you know, pylon people cannot leave their pylon's range for too long because then fight pauses and everyone has to CC that pylon again. So pylon people has to have skills like teleport, shadow step, lightning flash, so they can go to the ball, take it and carry it back to their pylon before pylon explodes. Sometimes they even have to ignore these AoEs on the way and should be able to step on them for a second or two so they can be back on time. When you take back these balls back to your pylon starts carrying it. Every pylon can carry only 3 balls, so you cannot put 4 balls on a pylon. Now it all makes sense because when you put these fire AoEs directly on the markers, you leave space for pylon people to kite around, and also you leave some space where balls will drop, so pylon people can go and take these balls safely. Now pro tip time. If a pylon can't get their ball on time, these balls start floating through the boss. Someone from the group can activate their action button, grab the ball and get in the range of your pylon, so that means other people can carry these balls for you. But for them to be able to leave this ball on your pylon, you need to deactivate your action key when they arrive, and then activate it back again. So you allow that person to leave that ball on your pylon, but this is like last resort. We arranged it that way so every pylon person gets the ball on their clockwise direction. See here. After every fire phase at 80% and 60%, you will drop your fire AoEs and CC the pylons. After every CC, Qadim will cause an explosion. This explosion is easy to dodge if you watch the red AoE in the middle expanding. Yet many people have a hard time with it, so I made a 30-second video to show how to dodge this specific mechanic you can see on my channel. At 40%, 30% and 20%, Qadim will start devouring pylons. After every time Qadim eats a pylon, we stack in the middle, give stability to people, except pylon people. Pylon people can only leave their pylon when their pylon is destroyed. After every pylon is devoured, remaining pylons will need to be CC'd again. Also, don't forget to keep an eye on your pylon players. If they fail to go back to their pylon on time, their pylon needs to be CC'd again. When a pylon player fails to return to their pylon, Qadim will create a dome around it and push players outside that dome. Then, you should check around to see which pylon failed. Qadim has 4 more attacks I haven't mentioned yet. One is this long AoE. Tank will direct this AoE. The pylon behind the tank has to dodge this AoE while carrying the ball back to their pylon. If you are targeted by the skill, that means you are standing too close to the boss. This skill needs to be directed in a way by the tank so that it doesn't hit any pylon. If it hits a pylon, that pylon needs to be reclaimed by CCing again. The other is lightning attack. Boss chooses one player randomly and targets them 3 times with this lightning AoE. This AoE gets bigger every time, in total 3 times. We as a raid group put 2 of these AoEs far from the group and overheal the 3rd one because the AoE is too big. Another attack is launched by the boss with this huge arrow. With this arrow, Qadim targets 1 player randomly and launches 3 attacks. Players should get out of this arrow's way, and the person targeted can dodge this launched attack by jumping, dodging forward or dodging backwards, so they don't move the arrow and create chaos. If this attack hits the player, it damages the player and the people around it. Maybe a tanky class may deal with this explosion, but DPS will probably die to it. You also need to dodge orange AoEs start appearing at the last phase.